Okay, so it's finally here. It is finally time for the NFL season. Kickoff is going to be next week. Lions at the Chiefs. I am excited. I am hyped. I am ready for the inevitable disappointment when I go into the season being like, all right, the Saints are going to roll. We're going to win a fuck ton of games. We're going to just clear the division. Gonna go to the Super Bowl. We're going to win that shit. And then by week 9, I'm like, oh, we're aggressively mid or actually bad. Fuck. Because, boy, that's what happened last year, and it's kind of what happened the year before that. But we're not here to talk about the Saints yet. The first game is, of course, like I said, the Lions at the Chiefs. And looking at this game, my pick is... It's the fucking Chiefs. Like, I'm picking the Chiefs to win this game. You're going to the home of the Super Bowl champs. Last I checked, they still have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. The loss of Eric Bieniemy, I really don't know how big that's going to be. I think there will be some impact for sure, but I feel like Andy Reid has always been the mastermind of the offense. So even with Bieniemy gone, they're still going to roll. I think the Lions are going to put up a very good fight. I think they're going to be in the game for 3.5 quarters, and then the Chiefs are just going to explode and win the game by like 21 to 17 points. Like, honestly, what I see happening, like, Lions are driving down 7, like, in the fourth quarter, maybe like 10 minutes left, and they're like, okay, we got to keep pace with the Chiefs. We have to score touchdowns. We can't kick field goals. It's like 4th down, maybe around like the Chiefs' 40-yard line or so. They go for it, don't convert. Chiefs get the ball back, score a touchdown. 7 points now become 17 points. Lions are now a bit more desperate to get in the game, make a mistake, turnover, Chiefs get it, score again, 21 points. And then that's about the margin of victory. So it's going to be one of those games where when you look at the final score, you're like, oh, the Chiefs fucking blew the doors off of them. But if you actually watched it, you're like, no. They were in the game for most of it. They just couldn't quite finish. That's what I see happening between this game. So I got the Chiefs. The next game between the Bengals and the Browns, I do have the Browns winning. 3 reasons. Number 1, I don't know if Burrow is going to be healthy. Maybe I should have checked this. Because I know he's had that calf injury, and they've said several weeks for several weeks now. So I don't know if he's going to start week 1. It seems like there's kind of some rumblings that he is going to sit the first few weeks, potentially up to the first 4. I don't know if that's happening for sure. So him not playing, okay, that's one thing in the Browns' favor. Number 2, this Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow Bengals era seems to kind of struggle against Cleveland. That's another thing in Cleveland's favor. And they also kind of seem to start slow. I think they're like Burrow's first year, I think they started 0-2. Last year, they started 0-2. 2021, they won their first game, but slow starts, Burrow's health, and playing the Browns. I think Cleveland's going to win this game. Another thing in Cleveland's favor, as kind of much as I hate to say it, is now Deshaun Watson has an actual full offseason, able to train with the team, practice with the team, get to a good rhythm with his offense. I think that's going to help a lot. I think he'll look a lot better than he did last year, because he looked really, just not good, which makes a lot of sense. He was super fucking rusty. He hadn't played football in, 2 years? But I think at least week 1, he shows out, and the Browns win. Moving on to the next game, that's the Texans at the Ravens. I'm picking the Ravens. I think the Ravens roll. I'm not expecting Houston to be super good, while I'm expecting, Baltimore to be quite good. I feel like now that Lamar has got his money and it sounds like they're going to try to make the offense less run heavy and more pass heavy. I think he's going to be we're going to see a very hungry Lamar Jackson. I just made a fuck ton of money. I'm going to go prove that I was worth it. I am going to ball the fuck out. And I'm excited to see that happen. That sounds like it could be a really fun game. I don't think there'll be a whole lot of fireworks both sides, but I feel like it'll be high scoring overall, but pretty lopsided in the Ravens' favor. The next game, the Bucks and the Vikings. This is my first upset. I'm gonna pick Tampa. I'll be honest, I'm not super sure why. Like, granted, like, so I know the Bucks have a good defense, and they have a really good wide receiver in Mike Evans. I don't remember, is Godwin still there? I don't think he left. It's possible he did. But if he is still there, then they have two really good wide receivers. And Baker's not the best QB in the world, but I don't think he's absolutely terrible. Like he was pretty bad last year. Like I won't deny that. But he was also in Carolina, and then just the entire offensive efficiency in Carolina was really bad last year. The Rams were also kind of a shit show last year, even before Baker got there. And his last year in Cleveland, he was injured the whole time. I will admit, I am a Sooner fan, so I have my Sooner bias toward Baker. Like, I don't want to give up on him yet. I still believe in him. It's like, he's playing for Tampa, so I hope the team sucks. But I hope Baker doesn't suck there. I think I said the same shit last year. It's like, I want the Panthers to be terrible with him, but I don't want him to be terrible because I still believe in Baker. But I feel like Baker is still, at worst, a competent quarterback. And with a really good defense and two good receivers, I think they'll be fine enough. Now, this isn't primetime Kirk Cousins. This is 12 p.m/1 p.m. kickoff Kirk Cousins. So he'll probably be balling out. To me, one of the big things about the Vikings, though, is what's their run game going to look like without Dalvin Cook? What is I think it's Alexander Madison, which every time I hear the name, I just hear Alexander Madison. My name is Alexander Madison. So I hope he balls out for that alone. It's like, I don't wish anything bad against the dude. But it's like, I don't know how good their rushing attack is going to be against what's usually a pretty stout Bucks defense. I'm going to give Tampa the upset as much as, I don't want to. After that, so another NFC South between the Panthers and the Falcons. There's a part of me that's like, okay, Atlanta had just like a really strong rushing attack last year. I feel like that's maybe going to hold up. It's at home. It's against a rookie quarterback who hasn't gotten his feet wet at all in the NFL. Atlanta should win. The other part of me goes, well, the Panthers do have a pretty good defense. Like, from what I remember last year, like, they had a pretty solid unit. Excuse me. What I would generally consider like a good offensive-minded coach in Frank Reich now. I don't even really know who Bryce Young is throwing to, though, because they traded DJ Moore. I'm almost talking myself out of my pick now, because I wrote down the Panthers winning. I am going to stick with it, though, just because I can see, the script playing out, because the way I see it is okay, you've got a young defense doing what they can to keep their young rookie quarterback in the game, and it's close enough that in the fourth quarter, with, let's say, a 2-minute drill, maybe anywhere from a 5-minute offense to a 2-minute drill, Bryce Young, you are now our franchise quarterback, you are our new franchise savior, number 1 pick in the draft, here is your welcome to the NFL moment. And not the kind of welcome to the NFL, you just got popped and fumbled the ball kind of thing, but it's here is your moment to go out and just dominate and let everyone know I am here. I could see that happening, goes down the field, lead to touchdown drive, they win. Also, that's a pretty Falcons thing to let happen. I'm going to stick with it and say Carolina wins in Atlanta and more or less kind of a walk-off touchdown. There might be 5 seconds left or so, but it's a walk-off touchdown. No, let's see. So after that is the Cardinals and the Commanders. I've got the Commies winning. I have no idea how bad Arizona's going to look, but I think they're going to be pretty fucking bad. It's just some of the recent moves they've been doing. I know a lot of people have just been kind of asking, are they tanking? Are they actively tanking? And on the one hand, I'm okay, they're tanking. They're probably trying to get Caleb Williams. Assuming Houston is bad, they have Houston's pick. So they could have, potentially, if everything goes right for Arizona, they could have the number 1 overall pick and the number 2 overall pick, which would be insane if that actually happened. was like, okay, but it's like they have Kyler Murray. They signed him to a massive deal. But the coach and GM who latched themselves on to Kyler are now both gone. So it's like the new guys, if they want to say like, yeah, Kyler's our dude. When he gets healthy, we're going to put him in there and we're going to stick with him. Cool. You can trade the number 1 pick like the Bears did and get a fuck ton of assets for it. Or if there's like a defensive player that you guys really want, or like a phenomenal wide receiver, like an O lineman or some shit, you're like, this is the guy. You can take him number 1. Or fuck, again, you can trade the number 1 overall pick to someone, get a bunch of assets, let them take Caleb Williams, and then with your number 2 overall pick, take the dude you really want. There's potential options there. Or maybe they do just draft Caleb Williams and trade Kyler, which, I mean, Kyler is a proven commodity, but also it is notable how in his few seasons he's gotten worse as the season goes on. I feel like a team would be a lot more likely to trade for the number 1 overall pick and Caleb Williams than for Kyler at this point. So it really depends for the Cardinals. It's like, well, which of these 2 potential QBs do we like more? If they are tanking, of course. It's like, who do we like more? And if we like them about evenly, what can we get for him versus for him? And how does that affect our decision? So for that reason, for 2 reasons. For reason number 1, like all of that potential intrigue, I kind of hope they're tanking. Because the conversation when we get closer to the draft, very similar to like, what are the Bears going to do? I think it's going to be really interesting. Number 2, we haven't seen a team go 0-17. It would be history to witness. It's like, do I think they're going to be that bad? No. Who are they going to beat? I'm not sure. Probably the Falcons. Probably the week they play the Falcons. Unless at that point I'm like, dude, this Arizona team is dog shit and Atlanta's really good this year. But for now, I'll probably say they don't go 0-17. They beat Atlanta. But they don't beat Washington. I think Washington is actually going to be one of those surprise dark horse teams this year. I don't have them winning the division. I think it's going to be the fucking Eagles, man. But I think Washington is going to be a really tough team every week. I think their defense is going to be really good. Terry McLaurin's a fucking stud. I'm not sure about Sam Howell. I feel like if Sam Howell is consistently competent and isn't fucking them up every week, I think they're going to be fine. If he's balling out, Washington might really be a team to keep your eye on, but I've got them over Arizona. Hey, bub. Let's see, who's next? The next one, it's the Jaguars and the Colts. So, I mean, the Jaguars just seem to beat the Colts. Like, I remember it was a few years ago, it was the Jags beat the Colts week 1 and then lost every other game. And then like the next year, I think, was if the Colts beat the Jags in week 17, or week 18, excuse me, the 17th game, they would go to the playoffs, and the Jags were literally wearing clown masks to make fun of like their like GM and shit. And the Jags won that game. It was like, with just that kind of recent history, I would pick the Jags to win, but the Jags actually look like a good, competent team now. And the Colts are just a fucking mess. I've definitely got the Jags winning this game. I think they kind of beat the shit out of them. Next is the 49ers and the Steelers. So number 1, at the time of this recording, I actually did check this one, Nick Bosa isn't back with the team. He's still holding out. Now, he is not the only good defensive player the 49ers have. They have a really good defense even without him. But of course, like the reigning fucking defensive player of the year is a really good piece to have. So without them, they are weaker. I really don't know what to think of their QB situation. Like they said, Purdy is the starter, Darnold is the backup, and Trey Lance is now in Dallas. We'll see how Purdy looks. I'm really curious, like how much of last year was a fluky, flash in the pan kind of run, and he's not as good as we think he is. How much of it is like, no, he is really genuinely that good, but he's not really recovered from injury yet. It's like the rust is still there. His elbow's maybe still a little fucked up. I don't know. It could also 100% be, the kid's really fucking good, and his arm is fine, and he's going to sling it all over the yard. But there's enough question marks there for me. And when I look at the Steelers, I just kind of look and go, okay, it's a Mike Tomlin team. They're going to finish at worst 9-8. He's going to work his magic. This is going to be one of those weird Steeler games. Like those weird Mike Tomlin era. Not even just like it's a hard fought, grindy win, but like a just some kind of weird genjutsu that you're under while watching the game, not knowing what the fuck is going on. Like, for example, the week 1 game last year against the Bengals, where it's like Cincinnati should have been dominating the game. They weren't. But at the end of the game, they throw a game-winning touchdown. They have to kick the extra point to actually get ahead by 1, and the kick is fucking blocked. So somehow it goes into overtime. Like, they snatched a tie from the jaws of victory. Then they shanked like an easily game-winning field goal. Pittsburgh had a chance, also shanked the field goal. That weird fumble shit that happened to Joe Burrow as he was about to go win the game. And then Pittsburgh managing to win. We're like, what the fuck just happened? Or, I don't remember, this wasn't last year. I think it was the year before. I think it was one of those years when the Lions were like really bad. I don't think they'd won a game yet. And I think they tied against the Steelers. It was one of those, like, how the fuck did this even happen? I think we're going to get one of those kind of really weird Steeler games, and the Steelers are going to win. I think it'll be fun. I don't think it'll be a boring game. I think it'll be like a low scoring, but really entertaining shit show of a game, but the Steelers get the win. Titans, Saints, I'm gonna pull for the Saints. There's nothing really to say. It's week 1. I have blind optimism at this point. Right now, my brain is like, okay, so Derek Carr is going to throw for 6,000 yards, 60 touchdowns, win 17 games. The defense is going to ball out. Not allow any touchdowns all year, just get turnovers on every possession. It's wonderful. I'm allowed to think this because not a down of actual important football has been played. This is going to be wonderful. We will see how much I crash down after week 1. Now, genuinely, I still think the Saints are going to win. It's going to be like an okay, these are the flaws in the team that I'm seeing after week 1. This is the shit that we really need to clean up, because I think week 2 is against Carolina. Like, this is what we need to clean up before we go into Carolina, where, remember last season when we won our first game in the Dome, and then we went to Carolina, and we could have won, but we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot, and it was just a sloppy mess. I'd rather that not happen. I'd rather not have to come back down to earth after week 2, but I'd rather not have to do it after week 1, so I'm picking the Saints. Eagles at the Patriots. I think the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're going to win, because if they play the Chiefs again, the Chiefs are really fucking good. And if they're not playing the Chiefs again, it means someone beat the Chiefs to get there, so that team's going to be really fucking good. But if I had to bet on anyone to win the Super Bowl, I would probably pick the Eagles. Even more than the Chiefs, because I feel like the AFC is generally the tougher conference right now, which feels kind of weird to say, because I remember when just like a few years ago, it was like, no, the NFC is the really tough conference. The AFC just has like 2 to 3 really good teams. So no, the AFC feels like really deep and loaded right now, where the NFC is the one that only has a few, but this Eagles team is really good. I think they're just going to show up in New England, and they're going to show up mad, and they're just going to blow the doors off the Patriots. That being said, I'm really interested to see how Mac Jones does in this game. One, he's the only actual quarterback on their roster, because they released Zappy, and I think Cunningham was the name of the other guy, and they cleared waivers, so they're both on the practice squad. But he now has an actual offensive coordinator, because they didn't have one last year. So all of his regression from year 1 to year 2, like, no, that's fine. It's not fine. It's not good. But it's very understandable because the team did him fucking dirty. But now with an actual coordinator, which granted, it's Bill O'Brien. That's kind of its own bag of worms. But now that there's an actual structure to the offense, and it's called by someone who knows offense and not Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, I feel like you can be a lot more critical of him and his performance if he doesn't put up. But even if he does well, which I hope he does, I'm generally root for people to do well, Jalen Hurts is a different fucking beast, man. That Eagles team is nasty. And granted, different offensive coordinator. Granted, different defensive coordinator. But also, granted, Jalen motherfucking Hurts. A.J. Brown, Devontae Freeman, that offensive line, that Georgia Bulldogs-led defense. Like, I think they're just going to feast, man. So I got the Eagles winning. The Rams and the Seahawks, I'm not as sure about this one. I'm like, okay, like, the Rams were kind of the Rams were a fucking disaster last year. But there were injuries, but even before the injuries, they just didn't look that good. They lost Jalen Ramsey. They lost Bobby Wagner, who went back to Seattle. But how much of Seattle was, like, really just kind of fluky? But, I mean, after watching that Richard Sherman, like, Pete Carroll interview, I'm like, I don't think this is fluky. I think Pete Carroll is just that good of a coach and a personnel guy. I mean, I believe John Schneider is the GM, but it seems like he and Pete, like these are the kinds of guys that we want. Because it's culture. It's like culture first, talent second. But the talent is still there, and they know how to really maximize their guys. Like, I still think San Francisco wins the division, but I think Seattle is going to be even better than they were last year. And I mean, I'm fucking rooting for Geno, man. That story last year was so good. I hope it's not a fluke. I hope he just keeps balling out. So I do have Seattle winning. Dolphins and the Chargers. This should, and I'm hoping it is, just a fun back and forth shootout. Justin Herbert slinging it all over the yard. A healthy Tua doing the same thing, throwing bombs to Jalen Waddle, bombs to Tyreek Hill. I think the Dolphins win because I just don't trust Brandon Staley. And I know it's not a playoff game. It's not like a super meaningful late in the season kind of game for me to really go, I don't trust him. But I just don't. I think he's going to make a... If the game is as high scoring and close as I think it'll be, it's the kind of game where, like, okay, we have to score touchdowns, so we have to go for it on fourth down. Because there's times where it makes sense, either because of the context of the game or the analytics. But blowing a 27-0 lead is bad. It's really, really bad. But I also can't forget what happened the year before against the Raiders. And it's not just the overtime, or the timeout in overtime, where if you didn't do it, you both would have made it. Which is bad, because I wanted the tie. I wanted it so bad. I was like, dude, if that happens, that would be insane. We were that close. Fuck you, Brandon Staley. But on top of that, I remember it's like fourth down. They were down one score, if that. Like, it was still a very much alive game. It was like, hey, we're on our own 15. Let's go for it. Why would you do that? That was dumb. And like, what do you know? You just gave the Raiders 3 points in a game that went to overtime. I feel like if anyone is going to blink in this game and do something stupid, it's going to be the Chargers. So I'm picking the Dolphins to win. Packers and the Bears. I kind of went back and forth on this one. I'm really not convinced either way. On the one hand, there's a part of me that says the Bears are going to go, thank God there is no Aaron Rodgers. We can beat the Packers again. Hallelujah. Praise his name. And then they're going to go off. And then Justin Fields is going to run for like 300 yards. And then DJ Moore is going to carve them up. I mean, they've had Jair Alexander is a good corner, so maybe DJ Moore is not going to absolutely destroy them. But it's like they're going to have just a really good, efficient offensive game. And yeah, I was like, who's on the defense? Like, Khalil Mack. No, he's not. He's been on the Chargers for like a year or two now. Like, Roquan Smith. No, they traded him to the Ravens. Who is on their defense? I'm actually not sure. I don't know what they're gonna do defensively, but hallelujah, Aaron Rodgers is gone. They're gonna win. And then the other part of me is like, I just kind of am imagining Jordan Love, like, almost hearing that in, like, Soldier Field. Like, again, I'm imagining the script playing out. Like, hearing how excited the Bears fans are that there's no more Rodgers. Like, their owner is gone, and them just, like, screaming for joy and hearing all the boos because they hate the Packers and going, like, you thanked God too soon. Like, Rodgers is gone, but now you gotta deal with me, and I'm worse. And he goes out, throws, like, 8 touchdowns, like, breaks the single game touchdown record. And then you just see the Bears players and their fans go from really excited to slightly worried into how? How the fuck did they go from Favre to Rodgers to Love? Fuck this shit. So I'm like, man, I really want to pick the Bears. I really want to pick the Packers. I had written Bears down, but I think I'm going to change my pick to the Packers. Because you know what? The Love, like, revenge. It's not even a revenge tour, really. But just the, like I was saying, like, Bryce Young's coming out party. Like, he can have this game-winning drive. I think Jordan Love might have, like, a Matt Flynn Packers kind of coming out party. And while that seemed to be more of a flash in the pan, this one might be more consistent. Like, I'm hoping it is. So, I'll take the Pack. The Cowboys against the Giants. I've got Dallas. Me personally, I feel like last year the Giants, while a good team, they always just felt really fluky. Like, I feel like Daboll's a really good coach. I don't trust Daniel Jones. And I hate to say it, but I don't trust Saquon to stay healthy for a full season. Now, this is only week 1, of course. But I just feel like overall, Dallas is a better team. I trust Dallas more. I mean, it's also regular season Dak. Like, say what you will about the playoffs, but Dak is usually very good in the regular season, and, like, he fucking feasts on the Giants. I've got Dallas winning. And then the last game, the one Monday, yeah, because I think it's this week there's only one Monday night game, and then next week is the doubleheader. I mean, technically it's all next week, you know what I mean? Week 1 is the single game, week 2 is the Monday night doubleheader. But the Monday night football premiere is the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets. It is the debut of Aaron freaking Rodgers completing his Brett Favre arc and going to the Jets. A team who last year had a really solid receiving core, if not even better than solid, and a really good defense. We're just a quarterback away, and they finally got him. Year after he wasn't playing that well, though. MVP the year before, MVP the year before that, too. But last year, and I think it was that Giants game in London where I think he injured his thumb. It may have been as no, that thumb was bothering him all year, and it was a lot worse than we gave it credit for. And maybe a lot of that was just he was kind of just done in Green Bay, and so the spark wasn't there. But it seems like he wants to be in New York. Like, I saw that preseason thing with the Giants where he throws the ball, takes a few steps, and then the defender pushes him. I was like, yeah, he really didn't have to do that. Like, I don't think it was necessarily just his momentum was carrying him. It kind of looked like he wanted to shove him. And Rodgers like, dude, what the fuck? Have some respect, man. I don't even know who the fuck you are. I don't know who the fuck you are. I'm like, oh, okay. You're going to tell Aaron Rodgers you don't know who the fuck he is? Really? Really? Yeah, it was as soon as you tried to do the comeback, you lost. I'm sorry to say it, man. But, there's an edge to Rodgers right now. There's a spark in him, and it seems like he's really vibing with his team. That's dangerous. But I feel like if there's any team in the league right now that wants that smoke, it's Buffalo. There's some others, like Kansas City, the Eagles, the fucking Bengals. I think the Bills want it a little bit more than anyone else, though, because this is their division. This has been their division to lose for the past, 3 years now? They're the kids on the block in the AFC East. They were the darling Super Bowl pick last year, and unfortunately it didn't end well for them. But now that's kind of the Jets, the like really popular, like, yo, this team could really be it. This is the one making some noise. Everyone's kind of stealing Buffalo's thunder. And I don't think they like that very much. Now, we'll see what they can do about it, but I got them winning week 1. I do have them kind of putting their foot down and saying, nah. This is still our division. I think it's close. I think it's a really fun, like high-flying, high-scoring game. Because as good as the like Bills' defense is, Josh Allen is still a really fucking good football player. I don't think he scores every time he has the ball. It's also Josh Allen. I think he turns it over once or twice. Hopefully for him, not more than thrice. But I do think Buffalo is going to put their foot down. I think they're going to win week 1. So, I guess going over that again, all of my picks, to sum it all up. Chiefs over the Lions. I couldn't read my handwriting for a second. Browns over the Bengals. Ravens over the Texans. Bucks over the Vikings in an upset. Panthers over the Falcons on a last-second touchdown. Commies over the Cardinals. Jags over the Colts. Steelers over the 49ers in a really weird one. Saints over the Titans. We got to start. This is the first time. Let me try that again and articulate it. This is the first step to 17-0, and then the Super Bowl on top of that. Broncos over the Raiders. Oh, I don't even think I fucking said the Broncos over the Raiders. I completely skipped over that game. Yeah, I've got the Broncos beating the Raiders. I don't trust Josh McDaniels. Basically, every time I followed the Raiders last season, I know they didn't go 0-17. They won like 6 or 7 games, but they just seemed like such a fucking shit show, man. I don't trust Josh McDaniels at all. I don't trust Jimmy G. He's not awful. He's a far better quarterback than I would ever be. But I don't think he's that good. Russell Wilson didn't look good last year. But he also had Nathaniel Hackett for most of the year. And Hackett as a head coach was terrible. Russell Wilson has enough, like, he's had so many good seasons. To me, he's earned the benefit of the doubt, given how bad his coach was. And now that he has Sean Payton, who is a proven offensive mind in the NFL, I think they're going to be fine. I don't know if they'll be in the playoffs, but they're going to be like in the playoff hunt all year, I feel. I've got them beating the Raiders. Eagles over the Patriots, Seahawks over the Rams, Finns over the Chargers. I went back and forth, but I'm landing on Packers over the Bears, Dallas over the Giants, and then Bills over the Jets. We'll see how right I am. I remember last year when I was making picks for the regular season, I did not have a very good track record. I got it wrong most of the time, but it was still fun to do. But I will say, I remember doing really fucking well when it came to the playoffs. So I'll take what I can, but those are my picks for week 1. We'll see what the fuck happens.